Thank you very much, comrades. My name is Sbusiso Xaba. I'm the national chairperson of the PAC. Today, we'll be looking at the question that has been anticipated for some time, which is organizing. We have talked about the issue of we've talked about the issue of of mobilization, which basically is campaigning. And one element of campaigning, which is mobilizing, as a component of organizing. When you look at organizing, you have to look at it in more than one element. Firstly, as I said, that you have to look at within campaign, which is the program that we've been, a series that we've been looking at. We have split it into about five different discussion areas, which today we'll be dealing with the last one, which is how do you then organize that part to make sure that from your side you are organized. Moreover, there is organizing of a party, which has two elements. One becomes the recruiting, then the other one becomes how you manage the structures of the party. And the highest form of organizing then become how do you organize a nation into different institutions, which we won't deal with that for now, but our discussion on policy was already starting to go in that direction. However, it's quite a big topic for us to cover it in full in terms of how to organize a state, because if you look at the party and the nation, it will not survive unless you have institutionalized it. So the highest form of organizing those two elements, it's how much institutionalization it has become. In fact, when you look at the party and the state, the organizing become closer to what is also called administration. But for today, we will talk about organizing inside the campaign. Organizing a campaign itself, if you remember, we've talked about campaigns in general, which can be narrowed down to be said it's mobilization. The outcome of a great campaign, it's a mobilized people that feeds an organization. So mobilization is not totally, because sometimes when we talk organization as being superior to mobilization, sometimes it sounds like we're saying that mobilization itself is not useful. Mobilization it's critical on its own because it calls people to come into a place. And of course, when you leave them at that stage of mobilization, they will go back to their original state. But if you are able to then take a step further, utilizing the tools of organizing, it gives a totally different picture. I'm not sure if there is any comments before I move any further. Starting with President of our hosting organization, over to you, just to welcome us as we proceed in great speed. Over to you, Comrade Mafaf.
Greetings, comrades. Greetings, Africa. In other comrades, la corner lana. Good discussion le corner. think you have mentioned the part ukuthi sesifika kanjani ku-organizing. Shows that bekune issue of challenge. Sisema-comrades abetsheliwe ukuthi kutaba na Dr. Lungwa Mantashe for the presentation. I think sekungena the topic lena my lead. Thank you so much, National Chairperson. I think our duties have been stated very simply. Oppressed and the oppressor. That's the law that we are following. I think it's to clarify that our struggle is not a struggle of reacting, but it's a struggle of acting. Ours as comrades, we do not revenge, but we are fighting for justice. For a free society that everyone must live in a free society, and that society must have a conducive environment for everyone. I think the part of organizing our comrades simply states that without an organized mass, yes, we can mobilize, but we must at the end organize the masses, give them the right direction. They must have the right ideology, because only an organized mass knows very clearly what it takes to get freedom. Only an organized mass that is ready to stand against the enemy forces that is fighting the revolution and against and defending the monarchy. And these is abantu supported the system gokuthi continue in power. Thank you so much, comrade. I think you can continue leadership. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Things are dynamic in the revolution, and we have to move with the dynamism that comes with revolutionary work. As I indicated that we had expected a guest, and unfortunately, life is like that, and the work of a revolution is like that. Things changes on you, and you have to adapt and move forward. As I indicated, comrades, we did cover quite extensively the role of leadership in mobilizing or in the campaign. We talked about the role of the publicity team or information team that or particular department that carries out work in a specific field of policy that sponsors information. We then touch the risk management at some stage, but at high level. We never really touched that line of campaign organizers to say what are the role of the campaign organizing team and how does it feature in the whole picture, and what tools are there that those organizers are supposed to be looking at. In terms of the campaign, every time a campaign has it's on the move, there's always a trade-off of time versus money. You either have a lot of money on which you can organize what you can organize with time, or you have a lot of time where you can organize what you can compensate for the lack of money. So as an organizer, the first task, of course, like we highlighted, that understanding the problem is deeply, sufficiently, with the proper tools of analysis that we are still looking forward towards discussing, with the tools of analysis that are correct, and understanding our people correct or the constituency correct. Then someone must work out after all that has been done to say what work has to be done and how much would it cost and how much effort would it take? And that becomes basically the function of organizing in our scenario, where we are looking at how do we respond to this situation. I am hoping that comrades mute as they come through. It's yes, it becomes difficult to handle both sides of the screen. Thank you. So it then look at how do we organize all these resources that are required to do the work. You cannot be able to sufficiently organize resources if you don't know what work has to be done. Even if you have to prepare things like a proposal to donors, you must know what work has to be done. And the people who has to go down and sift through the work that has to be done become the organizers. So they do the heavy lifting and scheduling us and making sure that every component of financial and human resources are in place for us to carry out the campaign. In that analysis, it's very important that in a campaign, it's scheduled in a manner that we don't do last things first. Everything is prioritized according to the needs of the campaign. A typical example, you cannot expect the campaign to be running smoothly when you have not gathered forces and make sure that everyone is aware of their role in the campaign, because campaigns also have potential conflicts when everyone does what they like. It does also have the element of compromising other comrades or demoralizing other comrades, because some people only pitch up when praising has to happen and they are not there when the work has to be done. And so organizers become the people who make sure that everyone knows their role and they stick to their role. And they know how they will be measured in their different roles. As I said, that you don't only organize people, but there's organizers of money. We normally call them treasurers or secretary for finance. But that function is a function of organizing, because you are continuing to organize the resources that are critical for the campaign that is about to be ensued. I do not know, I will not see the hands. Please, if there is any question or engagement, please just come through. I won't be able to see because I'm sharing. Then you'll see that as the other functions are doing their work as well, as capabilities get matured, as leadership has facilitated the ability for people to be trained to do what they are supposed to do, organizing reap out of that and be able to utilize those people and put them to serious work and serious tasks where they have to drive the issues that are on the table. And one of the critical issues of organizers in the campaign, when you start seeing there, particularly when we get to the area of execution, it's where there it's written as team performance management. Comrades as we're working, we have to report to each other and we have to report to the organization. And as we report, we have to report in a manner that encourages greater work, that encourages greater participation, that identified and put in a position where the efforts of fellow comrades it's recognized. Because if the report is just fuzzy and vague, history will not be able to tell who was putting effort and who was not. And we end up compensating people who were lazy in our struggle or who did not want to contribute in our struggle. Or as we work, you'll find that any fruits that fall from the tree that we are working on is not shared by those who are working, but you got extra mouths that comes and take away what is deserved by many. So revolution, as much as it's been said before that its price is sweat, blood, and tears. However, it's got sweet fruits as well. Because as it was said last week, we are not fighting only for ideas in our heads, but we are fighting as people who are fighting for better life for our children and our children's children, so that they can live as proud nation and as proud African people that can stand up and face other nations. So in terms of generally organizing, that's basically what I can put on the table as we are organizing a campaign or organizing from an element of the campaign. Any question from that before we then transit to the issue of a party or an organization? And no hand coming through. Then post mobilization or post a very good campaign, there is the question that you see in our slide there of analysis again, and the question of we have run a campaign. After running a campaign, what then becomes the answer to say what did we benefit as an organization? Like we did with the problem, when we get when we have implemented the answer, we go back to proper analysis and looking at what are the new capabilities have we acquired and how have we changed society. One level of change of society means that now we got an opportunity to reap because we've been sowing. The first fruits that we get as a political party becomes members. So once you then out of this constituency, out of this crowd, you are able to draw out and identify those that you want to be part of your organization, or you open the gates for those who want to come to be in your organization. Their role changes because the difference between a supporter that is participating in a campaign and a member has decision-making powers. You do not want a person who is who's only excited by the warmth and the spirit of the campaign to be taking a decision of the party. If you remember before, we've said that we move society with emotions. As cadres of the party or as members of the party, we are moved by logic. We are no longer moved by emotions that were moving society in general in the campaign. So how do you make that transition? It then becomes the work that we are doing in this party school of the NNLC Youth League, where now we take people who've been mobilized, put them on a program or expose them to things that you don't expose supporters to. You try to avoid exposing supporters to difficulty, but members must carry the difficulty because they've chosen to suffer and sacrifice for the cause that they've chosen. And out of those members, it's then you identify different personalities which suit different roles and different tasks. It's very important that in terms of membership, as much as we would like to have everyone, but for example, there are people who are so conflict-ridden that actually you do not want them in the party. The party must grow, the party must open to as many people as possible. It must be open to new ideas and fresh ideas and different opinions, but you do not want to have people who their task is to just create difficulties in a political party because it can drag you quite a while. So as much as there's recruitment, also in a political party, you must facilitate a process that will also allow exit of members. So sometimes we should not cry so much when we lose members to other political parties because they were attracted by other political parties, or to lose them because we had to discipline them and release them from the party. It becomes a natural process. So that road of cleaning up. So we normally say there is accountability and there is discipline. Discipline has to do with what a member does to themselves. How do they maintain discipline to themselves based on the teaching that the party has given to them, to what they need to comply with, including the constitutional prescript of the political party. Then when you have this door, which is called membership, now that is much refined than the initial door that you had, which was called supporters, you then have cadres that you start slotting up into different responsibility. Normally, it's the normal chosen process of selection to setting up structures is normally elections. However, it's not the only one. The first and the most important task is that every time, comrades, there is an opportunity for, you see a young comrade being in the fold, give the comrade task. Don't start with giving a comrade position. Give them a sense of responsibility and test if that new member is able to take responsibility. Not difficult responsibilities, but simple responsibilities that assist to walk the journey for the party and see if they've got stamina and see what they like to do versus what they are able to do. And most of the time, that is not the same thing. Some people like to do the other things, which when you look at them from an observer point of view, they are not good at it. On the other hand, sometimes they've got things they don't like to do, but they are very good. They are natural at them. They are very good at them. So it becomes a balance, because you actually, the best is to find what someone is good at the same time, what they are talented in doing. There are people who would like to be president because president is popular, but they are not good speakers. There are people who would like to be secretaries and sit and write, but they are not organized, because your secretary, you want someone who's it's quite an organized portfolio that organizes the whole organization. However, you see someone wanting to take that position because they like it, because maybe it has nice status, or they've done it well somewhere else, but they don't fit in that role in the party. So that is normally the challenge that you face. Then you put those people in a structure that has to work, that has to go through all the development phases of any organization, which will start with people really conforming and listening to each other. Suddenly they storm and disagree, and someone wants to dominate. And that kind of relationship, hopefully we move it fast out of it, so that we can move to the next levels where we actually form and ultimately perform as a particular committee that has to do a particular action of the party, either because it's a constitutional structure, or is a structure that has to carry out a particular task and complete it. So as I was highlighting that, as a party, we continuously look at opportunity to assign responsibility. I can tell you, comrades, very importantly, never have a structure that does not contest power. The problem is that once you have a structure that does not contest power, does not contest the vacuum, it turns around and contests leadership. So as you are looking at constitutional structure, or just this operational structure that is required for the job that has to be done at hand, make sure that there is power that they are contesting. There is a wall that they need to fight against in order to avoid a situation where they are preoccupied by a red pen marking what leadership is doing, and where it's succeeding and where is it not succeeding. Comrades, I will pause here and give an opportunity for any comments or any breather before I then move on or move towards the closing. That silence. Comrades, if there is no comment, I think we will then stop here. Comrade Mafafa, over to you.
Yes, Africa. I have a question in Africa. You still have questions in Africa? My question was, I have to answer maybe na so we are ngasephathini ngesigcina my lead. Kule utsinze i-point lemcoka lana mona. About the campaign ukuthi we mobilize, we organize through my campaigns. What seems up before the difference between campaigns and the rallies? May you please clarify in the terms of you say leadership must contest, the structure must contest for power. Kanjani my leader? Maybe the power lokukhuluma ngayo is organizational. Maybe I say we are comrades contesting for power inside or outside organization. Maybe there are these external organizations that that we have in the country, maybe the unions, student leadership and everything. What power you are speaking about, Lapo, my lead?
I think there are two elements that that you've already raised as you are asking the question. The first one, it's the difference between an event, which can be a rally, a picket, and a campaign. A campaign is a thought-through series of events that is designed to take out a particular outcome. An event can either be something to show force, as we indicated when we're dealing with campaign sponsorship or campaign messaging. So that's a major difference, is that the campaign uses various tools, including events, to change society. Whereas an event is just that moment in time. It can be a moment in a campaign. It can be a moment that flows alone. But a campaign is knit through. Then the second part is in terms of contesting power. Let me make an example. The question is always arising from almost every political party. Do I have youth organization and student organization as separate institution or not? Different parties have responded to that quite differently. But for me, I will not have those separate, because one, find most students are the youth, and most youth are students, not all of them. However, if you see the demarcation, the line is very clear. The youth is always wanting to take over leadership of the youth within institutions of education, particularly, either in schools or in universities. As a political party, we want to contest and win there. Depending on the nature of our contest, sometimes we second individuals to stand and we don't put the label of the party. But in other environment, we put the party itself being the contestant, depending on the system that is being used where we're contesting power. But the NNLC Youth League must be contesting power somewhere. Its branches must be contesting power somewhere. When it just creates structures that do not contest power, they collapse or they fight leadership. It's always turn out that way. So when you have two organizations led and fighting the same space of students, other calling themselves youth, other calling them students, you are just creating two factions within the party that will end up contesting each other instead of contesting power that we want from others. Because power, it's action, it's doing something, it's having the potential to do something for your people. Branches of the party. Branches of the party normally in the NLC are structured around regions of the country. They must contest every power there is. I'm not saying that they must join elections and go to Tinkundla, but there is power to be contested. There is power to be contested who controls the fields, who ensures that the hospitals run correctly, who ensures that complaints are submitted correctly and they are followed up where civil service must provide service, because that kind of work, which might look like you're assisting the regime, but the interest is to get your people to continuously be clear about what they are working for, what they are active for. And if you look at parties, I like the Muslim parties, in particular, the way they structure themselves, looking at Muslim Brotherhood or Hamas. I don't normally agree with their politics in full, but I like their style of work. They create parallel government. So if there is a local government or municipality government that provides services, they organize alternative service. They organize a clinic as well. Government run a clinic, they run a clinic. We might not be in a position to do those massive kind of programs and campaigns. However, as we ask ourselves, what power are we contesting? Who are we contesting? And what power does it carry? And what power do we want to fall in our hand? Because we cannot wait to contest power until we've been allowed democratic space to go to elections. We must always be contesting power. Yes, South Africa, including in unions, including in civic society, including everywhere where there are tools of controlling ability to give our people better service. In any other comments as we go towards the
Yes, my friend. Yes, my friend.
yes, the floor is yours.
Thank you, leadership. Africa, Nama had a problem about that point of contesting power, but now that you have explained it, it's clear, because we had these ones who played dirty, maybe saying it's our competition, as in political party, competitor political parties. So they will play that in order to be in power, especially maybe in trade unions, student leadership and stuff. So we thought that was wrong yet, but in the sense that you have explained it, gave Vagalam Africa. But still in Vangati, don't we supposed to be contesting power maybe after we especially us as Swazis, after we gained a democracy maybe, then we can start contesting power as political parties, because really now we need this unit. Madam Africa.
Thank you. I think you touch an important part, the style of work. The style of work becomes, as a political party, if you wait to contest power after the victory, you will be left on the side. You have this thing of contesting power, it's a skill. It's a lack of skill that people are willing to do dirty, because ubutsotsi has short legs. Lies always have short legs. If we are going for a marathon, it becomes important that we choose our style of work properly. That when we say that we want to lead society, even those that are not our members must be able to follow us because they see people of principle. Very important that we choose our style of work. We become, we know when to be antagonistic or ukuthi singene ngendluzula okubamba rough, and where we must be soft. We cannot be rough against our people. We must know when to be to put gloves and handle all our matters with gloves. Contesting does not mean you must carry out, you must be negative. We must learn to run positive campaigns rather than negative campaigns. Not campaigns of insults of others, but be clear of what we want, be able to articulate what we want, the future we desire, and don't limit ourselves to what we don't want. Over to you, comrade. Your hand is up.
Sure, Chief, thank you. Angat noma ngiyakhona ngena in line network yami inenkinga.
You are loud and clear.
Thank you, facilitate. Kuphakama question la ukuthi in this case of lama political parties trying to capture some of the trade unions which you have labeled unwrong. Is it a solution to boycott as an NLC? Is it a solution to boycott if sekwendekile say Leo party say Iran that union? Is it a solution? For instance, the student union, is it a solution to boycott? What will be the solution for us to continue with the battle? Thank you.
Boycotting the structures it's a tactic that is used, but it's a tactic that I will discourage that we use it often, because especially when the other guys have planned better and they have taken over. We must just learn and go to the drawing board and start doing our homework for the next time. Because particularly in student environment, it's just a year that the one party is in charge and the next one is you lose power. If you did not do your succession properly, or you did not evolve with what students want at a particular time, or what kind of students have come through the university or school at that time. I will not encourage sauerkraut, but if it's a conscious tactic that we are deciding to boycott, not because we lost, but because we wanna drive a particular point, that becomes a different kind of boycott. But if it's just because we are not in charge, that means that you will not be able to go back to be in charge, because you don't wanna, you wanna know what your rivals, I don't wanna say your enemies, because we have an agenda of building nations, and if we in as political parties we see each other as enemies, we might fail ourselves as well. The rival, if they've taken over, look, introspect. Where did you go wrong in your organizing? Did you take for proper shape? Did you take proper form that allowed you, your structures, to carry a campaign that is decent? Do you have the right people? Did you put right candidate in front of the people? Like I was saying, that you might find that there are comrades who are ideologically grounded, very strong, but unfortunately, they are not appealing, they are not charming. And elections, normally student elections in particularly, are about charm. So is our systems as an organization allow us to put the right candidates? Did we lose because of the candidates? Did we lose because of the message? Did we lose because of dirty tricks? How do we prevent the dirty tricks from happening in the future? Sometimes you find that we lose because we did not secure the ballot, because we were intimidated out of the ballot. In our case, you find that there are areas that are created to be no-go areas during the elections, so that those parties that makes no-go areas, they know they can cheat and stuff the ballots there when we're not there. But it becomes our responsibility that we must increase our muscles so that we are not intimidatable. The point is, contesting power needs to be practiced, learned, refined, so that you enter into different spaces of contesting. Thank you. Any other hand or any follow-up? None. Lastly, Chair, before I give back to you, Comrade Mafafa and the National Chairperson, I see is here. Basically, comrades, we must take opportunities even beyond Swaziland for now to continuously practice our contestation. I've been requesting for a while that I know that Eswatini, there are many UNISA students, and there is no reason why the Youth League has not registered as a structure in UNISA in Pretoria. That will give NNLC Youth League access to resources, utilizing its members or Swatis who are registered as students in UNISA, who have this privilege of UNISA as any other student of UNISA, and you stand for elections in UNISA as NNLC Youth League. It will give quite a lot of ground to the organization, but it will also assist in organizing the resources. We normally cry about our ability to get things like t-shirts, and there's a budget there to be able to do those things. So when we're saying that we must organize and we must contest, it's just not limited to, we must look wider. There are other opportunities other than just limited to contesting the areas of unions, civic movement, or churches or the likes. I see the hand over to you, comrade.
Am I in, Chief?
You are in, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I believe to go good say NNLC is local. I want clarity when you say we can mobilize further sibe nema members noma ngathi noma ngithole ngive kahle yini in as far as the other institutions in the other countries ngicela lapho le clarity le kahle lokho ukuthi
I normally see and hear a lot of Swati in the University of Joburg or in UNISA, as I made an example, or TUT in Nelspruit. And those people who come, you will be expecting that they vote for the NNLC in Swaziland?
yes,
Not now or in the future.
yeah, they are.
So why wouldn't you organize them now? So that by that time they've already taken responsibility and they are used to voting for NNLC in different structures. They see the NNLC as their own institution.
Oh, now it's clear, Chief. Actually, the Swazis in the diaspora.
Yes, but one of the point that I was driving is that comrades, there are resources in student politics, and that they cannot be taken by the motherboard. Those can be only harvested by the youth league if it puts its mind at work and be able to access those resources. Because I'm sure that there are no such resources in the university in the country, but there are opportunities elsewhere. If there's SRCs in the United States and there's a diaspora community that is in there, why don't we organize and take advantage of the resources? And they bring the resources for the struggle to continue. It's a challenge. We will not conclude today, and it's for the organization to discuss it, to discuss such tactic and strategy, such level of organization that goes beyond what we normally see as our scope of work. Comrade Mafafa, please. When you were about to close, you remember the question. Can you close for us? Then National Chair, please come in as the last one.
Thank you so much, Comrade National Chairperson of the PAC, and thank you so much to Kuma comrades Lavelile Lana ku discussion. I will call it a discussion and learning, since we were posing questions while our educator was capacitating us. Comrades, ngisacela kufunza naye i-quote le attach kule screen. It's an important quote that I feel that I should read it. It says, every great political campaign rewrites the rules. Devising a new way to win is what gives campaigns a comparative advantage against their foes. Comrades, it's from John, comrades. It is in the screen, comrades. I think it's a very, very, very informative and great quote about what we were learning today. Points that you can need to be touched with my comrades, lakhona sisabheka lena sithi in different branches. There is this part of finding the problem, which is the key part. We would see if this campaign you want to kuyenda lena lesikhona khona, there must be this problem. We would see the society by that time ikhala ngani identifying the problem correct, so that the masses, because Comrade National Chairperson once said in our political school is that a political party is a tool to exercise power. Power power is a potential to do something for the people. Lokusho ukuthi, when we raise these campaigns, it means that we are challenging because the current ruling system of government is the Tingunda, which means we are challenging the ruling government. So I challenge ngani with the right thing le affect in the masses, and by so doing there's a pipeline reason ukuthi we are going to benefit. Si benefit kanjani? We are able to mobilize and we gain members from the society because they have been seen ukuthi we are saving their interest at heart. Vele lokho kumsebenzi emacabane ukuthi emacabane they must fast for justice. That what comrades should fight for. And also comrade, we also touch kunai partner environment that we are working in. It is true that the environment is not conducive for us, whether it's in the part of Lama student, in the youth, in the working class, and everything, even Legma rulers in the youth that is unemployed, and that is Legma rural areas, the environment is not conducive. But ours, as our educator have said, is to use logic, plan very well, strategize very well. That will make our campaign successful. Campaigns surely we are going to implement it so that going to reach the masses and have the mass behind it, because having the mass behind kusinike advantage, because labantu bayabona lokho ukuthi kuyiwapi and what is the benefit of what you are fighting for, comrade. Comrade National Chairperson, thank you for our political education today. In the part of the student movement, it's an issue, it's a discussion that must be raised. That is correct amongst our cadres who are around its tertiary institutions. Come up with a strategy that is right. Our educators are there to open our minds, give us my ways, netindlela lesingathi sebenzisa ukuthi how can we survive as the youth. Thank you so much, comrade, for raising that part. I think our national chairperson, if I am correct, he raised this point, I think 2 years back. He said, comrade, you are a tertiary, comrade. There is this part that I can touch the part that you are touching, comrade. I must be straightforward. Why raise a comrade, our national chairperson, comrade Tamile party then, and the raise goods how we can work it. I think it's a point that you need to discuss as the youth and come back to a table and strategize it very well. Thank you so much, comrades. Thank you.
Thank you, National Chair. Over to you. Let's then, comrades, close it here. I think we cannot, the National Chair cannot pick us up on the other side. Thank you very much, comrades. Let's have a good evening.